Starting a summer job is usually a simple thing. You show up, you do your work, you collect your paycheck. But when I got hired at a traveling carnival that had just set up in Los Angeles, things turned out to be anything but simple. The carnival wasn't massive, but it had all the usual attractions: rides, food stands, and plenty of game booths designed to take your money. The centerpiece, however, was this enormous funhouse. It wasn't like the temporary wooden structures you usually see. It was built out of an old abandoned hotel that had supposedly been renovated for the carnival. From the outside, it looked quirky and playful, painted with bright murals. But something about it gave me chills from the very first day. My job was straightforward. I stood near the entrance and exit of the funhouse, took tickets, and made sure no one got hurt inside. At first, it seemed like the easiest job in the world. But it didn't take long for me to notice that something about the place wasn't quite right. The first time I realized it, I brushed it off as a mistake. I counted 12 people walking in together, but only 11 came out. I told myself I must have miscounted, but the same thing happened again the next day. 7 in, 6 out. 9 in, 8 out. I started double-checking, even writing down the numbers. But no matter how careful I was, the math didn't add up. People were disappearing inside. At first, I thought maybe they were slipping out through some emergency exit I didn't know about. That idea almost made me feel better, because the alternative, well, I didn't even want to think about the alternative. One night, near closing, I decided to walk through the funhouse myself to see if I could figure it out. Inside, the atmosphere was much creepier than it seemed from outside. The colorful mirrors were cracked in places. The floorboards creaked, and the painted walls were peeling. The laughter of the guests echoed unnaturally, like it was being swallowed up by the building. I walked slowly, letting my eyes scan for anything unusual. That's when I noticed a small door, low to the ground and painted the same color as the wall, like it was meant to be hidden. It didn't look like part of the attraction. Curiosity got the better of me, and I tugged it open. Behind it was a narrow stairway leading down. I hesitated, telling myself I should leave it alone. But deep down, I already knew I was going to follow it. I pulled out my phone, turned on the flashlight, and descended into the darkness. The further I went, the colder it became. The air smelled like mildew and rust. At the bottom, I found myself in what looked like an old service corridor. The walls were made of stone, damp to the touch, and the tunnel stretched out in both directions. It definitely wasn't part of the carnival. I should have turned back, but I didn't. I wanted answers. I wanted to know what was happening to the missing guests. So I kept walking. After about a minute, I noticed something on the ground ahead of me. A small sneaker, pink, with a cartoon princess on the side. My chest tightened. I knew I hadn't imagined the missing people. Someone or something was taking them down here. I picked up the shoe and kept moving, my pulse pounding in my ears. The tunnel twisted and turned until I reached a heavy steel door. It looked ancient, with rusted hinges and a padlock that had been broken off long ago. Against every instinct I had, I pushed it open. Inside was a room that looked like a cellar. Old crates and broken furniture were scattered around. But what made my blood run cold was what covered the walls. Dozens of old photographs, pinned up in crooked rows. Some were black and white, some were Polaroids, but every single one showed Carnival guests. Kids, families, teenagers, smiling as if their pictures had been taken without them knowing. I scanned the photos with shaking hands. A few of them were recent. I even recognized a couple of faces, people I had seen just days before at the carnival. Suddenly, I heard something behind me, a faint creak, like footsteps on the old floorboards. I spun around, shining my light into the darkness, but saw nothing. I backed toward the door, trying to stay quiet, when I heard a whisper. At first, I thought it was in my head, but then it came again, clearer this time, a voice saying, "Stay." The sound echoed through the tunnel, bouncing off the stone walls, coming from everywhere at once. My heart was racing. I bolted out of the cellar, slamming the door shut, and ran back the way I'd come. My flashlight shook in my hand, shadows darting across the walls, making it feel like I was being followed. When I finally reached the stairway, I scrambled up, barely remembering to close the hidden door behind me. I burst back into the funhouse, gasping for air. The laughter of the carnival goers outside felt strange and distant, like I had just climbed out of another world. I didn't say anything that night. I couldn't. Who would believe me? But the next day, when I came back to work, the funhouse looked different. The hidden door I had found was gone, completely sealed up, as if it had never been there. That's when I quit. I didn't collect my last paycheck, didn't even bother telling my boss. I just walked away and never went back. I still don't know what I stumbled onto that night, or what those tunnels are really used for. But sometimes, late at night, I can still hear that whisper in my head. Stay, stay. And every time I do, I wonder how many people actually never made it out of that carnival alive.